Maybe we hope so. And what? How do you get past those Teven issues? You change your Civ. Because while Wham has once again gone for the deli, note that Beastie has not. Instead, Beastie is going for the Mongols. And remember what we mentioned about the Mongols, right? They're going to have aggro options early on, but it's probably not going to be focused around the back wood line. It's probably going to be focused around the fishing. If your opponent doesn't set up fishing, 100% you still make the commitment into the base with like 4 or 5 spears. Can be a little bit irksome against Delhi because they have the ability to heal with their Scholar, so their villagers can fight back. But ultimately, like, the idle time that you're going to stack up on those villages makes it worthwhile. But, of course, considering that Wham has gone for the dock straight away, it should be a more cut and dry opening. And remember, BC has to be the offensive player here. Because whenever you talk about maps like this, similar to Mongolian Heights, you know, you can't just do this, let's carve the territory up, let's wall up and not do anything. Mongols can't wall. So while there's a risk that you could get blocked out, it doesn't work both ways. I do love this though. Notice the damage he's already put onto the villager. This is intentional to ensure that this Villi cannot go and wall. Probably can't even hang around at this rate. Beastie, of course, is going for the racks as anticipated. Now remember, this is slowing down his dock timing by quite a bit, right? You've made the heavy investment 150 wood into the Uru, and then you've gone for another 150 wood into the racks. On top of that, you're then going to be spending an extra 40 wood, because remember, you get the double production of spears, for your lads. So it's going to be a while until we see fishing coming out for the Mongols, if at all. He should want to still aim for it, but his goal, first of all, is to block his opponent out. And what the hell is... Oh, it's so pretty. That is the lost spirit of the Ottomans from last game, guys. Rest in peace for them. It did not go well. So, Spears should be on the way soon, and obviously he's just going to torch down for free, right? The villager's already half HP, he doesn't want to hang around. Wham has been going for straggler trees, now going to prioritize that wood. Remember, the weakness of these type of openings against English, against Mongols, against any Civ that doesn't want to fish straight away, is that there's a window of opportunity to punish you, because you're not going to tech up as quickly, remember. Think about the investment here. You know, we've seen 225 wood so far that is not going to a tech up timing, it's going to fishing. And while the fishing will return the investment down the line, there is a gap in the meantime. One that it looks like Beastie wants to exploit to the fullest. In fact, I wonder, is he actually going for the dock? Or did he spot something more important? Like the forward spawning gold. I mean, he has options. I think he shut down the fishing first, though. So here's the thing. If he knew what we knew, he'd go straight for the base. He'd block the gold. Whoopsie daisy. Nothing you can do is Wham. But he doesn't know that, right? He hasn't got God vision. You can see, like, in terms of where he's looking, he's at home. Nice snipe out, though. What? Wham. He just lost the scout like that to 2 spears. That's not something that should usually be happening here. It feels like Wham's a little bit distracted for a second there. No way 2 spears should be able to pierce you that quick. Remember, they only do 24 damage per strike. You've got 110 health on a scout. The numbers don't support it just dying the moment it encounters. Of course, Wham playing the deli. This is one way he can try to defend himself, but there's nothing he can do about the outpost. And remember, these spears, they can easily dodge out those single arrows because of the changes, right? Remember that these arrows are not perfectly accurate, which is why the deli got nerfed probably the hardest with the naval changes, right? It's like the fishing boat strategy became even less reliant due to the inaccuracy, as we just saw there. It's actually even weirder than that, right? You see this? No, that must have been the scout. Yeah, so the scout was full attacking. I was about to say, wait. So either the scout attacked one spearman once and the other twice, or the damage isn't consistent? Nah, I think it's just this. I think it was just the scout. That would be very weird otherwise. But like, look how hard this game now is for Wham. He's gonna shuffle over the side, but now he can't even go and kill the villager. Because remember, those arrows aren't perfectly accurate. And unlike an archer ship, don't know why I went that way with it. Unlike an archer ship, you don't get this saturated shot, right? That has a high chance of hitting even when someone's trying to dodge. This is a tough one. Gonna try to commit though, and it looks like Beastie wasn't paying attention, so he will get him. Good move. However, the spears can still burn down the dock. It's gonna be problematic. Meanwhile, Wham says, okay, middle finger to you. If I can't have my dock, you can't have your side for free either, but it's going to be difficult to stop Beastie here. Beastie already has the edge on getting the fishing boats out. He's got the outpost going up. Feels like he's got a really good read in the situation, but great read by Wham to delete the wall and move on. So he will at least get his fish. But look at the resource difference here, folks. This is not a good position for you to be in if you're Wham, right? Like, you know, you've just handed over some more resources. In the meantime, Beastie still has units to aggro with, which he's using towards the base. And although your tech up timing is superior... Oh. Okay, that was almost clutch. If he gets the villager gone there, good. I like the fact that Wham's sitting here, but to finish off my point, like, although he has got an edge on the tech up timing, Beastie already has aggro out, right, with the spears. And he'll be able to find some little bit of focus fire in the early phase before you have units to defend yourself. Because logically, Wham here, his first move wants to be archery range, right? So he's not going to have an archery range already, which gives you a window of opportunity to keep your opponent pushed in and idle some eco at home. And you can see Beastie is desperate to try and get that outpost up, but I don't see it happening. Another villager goes down. So good reactions from Wham. It's kind of awkward, right? Like, Beastie's kind of in the situation where he wanted to hop onto that the moment he saw them returning to drop off the fish. But he doesn't have wheelbarrows, so his villagers move a lot slower than you'd otherwise want to finish that off. But now with 3 villies coming in, it seems guaranteed. It's not something you can really stop. In fact, Beastie, if he just pulls back the injured one, I don't know. Wait, is he going to get this? There's no way. There is no way. This is stinging right now. That's now 3 villagers dead. And 2 almost dead. Honestly, if Wham just gets 1 or 2 horsemen and finds a way to poke in, I think Beastie is in dire tides. Archers have now arrived, so he's been pushed away. Finally, the tech up does come through, so Beastie will be able to defend himself. In fairness, he does have this play, right? The naval arrow slits. But that play does exist on both sides. However, you notice Wham is not going for it because, well, the fishing boats have already been defeated. They're already stuck inside. Meantime, though, Wham, how's he looking on land? He's prepping the stables, so he's ahead of the mark here. He understands what needs to happen next. Beastie now has this cumbersome situation where he needs to get even more spears out. Still needs to actually layer in the horsemen. Like, militarily, Wham is in a very good position right now. And if he keeps up that momentum, he'll be able to secure sacred sites also. Kind of another annoying thing when you're playing Mongols, right? Is like you can't go out and wall off these sacred sites. Outposts shuffling out with so much damage done to your economy already is difficult. Speaking of those outposts, he does finally come back to finish it off. Really cool because remember, he's going to have the Yam here. Oh, and almost snipes one of the Villies. Should be able to take out a few fishing boats. Like, they're being whittled away at by the naval emplacement. It's kind of absurd and easy to forget just how far the range is on this thing. 11 tower range. It's insane. Just like that, all of a sudden, Wham has lost the eco value. Needs to really get out and start securing these sacred sites. He should have the ability to do so in the next few seconds. Sanctity just 30 away. He is shuffling out north and south to the maximum. Notice that Beastie isn't going to try to mirror that right now. His goal should be to just secure resources in the center and possibly even look towards Russian Castle Age here. I think Mongols initially in Castle Age, with the way these two have opened, will be stronger than the Delhi. Obviously, in a prolonged castle situation, Delhi take the lead, right? Because they're going to go compound of the defender. They're going to get the keeps. They're going to get additional town centers as a result. But for now, I feel pretty good about Beastie's position. Especially when you look at how much Wham is investing. Like, Beastie, I genuinely don't think he wants to flirt too much in feudal anymore. Look at the food, look at the gold. This is very clear what the intent is. He's doing just enough damage to his opponent's economy and now looking to go up himself. That dog will be going down. Khan gets info as well. Needs to be careful not to give all 4 sacred sites over. Doesn't want the pressure of that timer. And the cool thing for Beastie is because of where it is, it's very difficult for Wham to get all 4 sacred sites. Interesting play as well out into the food, but it comes back to what we just said. Beastie wants the quickest possible Castle Age timing now. If he just hangs around and waits to fish, he's not going to achieve that. He doesn't really have much more need for wood right now either, so he just wants to go, go, go. People asking, just to remind you, this is an upcoming map for EGC. This is EGC Canal, which should be featuring in the Golden League. Golden League 2, to be specific. So I noticed a few people curious. Keep in mind, by the way, that Beastie can more or less defend himself with one or two of these archer ships. It's kind of absurd how much damage they can do. Right, a flurry of shots, we're talking 6 times 5, so you're doing 30 damage. Also, notice no range defense coming out in these archers yet. Kind of maybe a missed trick here is the delayed blacksmith means he's not going to have that defense. Instead, Wham, weirdly enough, he's just setting up the walls. I hope he's going to push forward from this. Maybe he's trying to re-establish docks, but he still hasn't addressed the outpost. In fact, he's feeding the outpost right now. Looks like Horseman blocked off the interior north side. Nice play there. So Beastie, he's going for Castle Age. He's intercepted on one of the sacred sides. There's only 2 in control for Wham. Khan goes down, but it feels like it's a GG the other way at this rate. I mean, this is a very potent timing. And you're probably wondering, like, how does he get here? How is he looking this strong? He's got 10 fishing boats, folks. 10 fishing boats. Yes, the Delhi have berries at home, but to supplement that and kind of mirror it, Beastie also, on top of having the fishing boats, went for the deer. Makes a lot of sense when you just look at it that clean and cut. Step readout, almost done at home. Blacksmith's also being prepped. This is a very potent timing. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if BC's considering maybe like 1 mango down the line. Like, you know, possibly the siege engineering improved. It's probably not high priority, probably 3 or 4 minutes from now, once he dresses the horseman. Because right now, for Wham, like, he's got 2 choices. He either goes Castle Age quickly, or he maximizes archers and spears and tries to go now. Or he could be going into mass horsemen, which, if that's the case, the mango play isn't going to happen, but I'm not really sure what you're intending with the mass horseman here. I mean, you can kind of try to torch down buildings, right? Like, that's one nice element. It does also give him the ability to flex, right? If he keeps enough horsemen, he can beat 1 or 2 lancers, and it allows him to mirror their movements and keep the sacred sites locked in. Still, not really sure what you do if this is the play instead. Lancers plus men-at-arms. It just means you have no answer as Wham. I think that's why you can see now he's just prioritizing the tech up. He's also running out of wood insanely fast. This map is pretty brutal, folks. Like, you know, we've seen the move out into the food for Beastie, but I think you can see how this is going to change, what the priority is going to be. With such little wood at home, you have to really make it work, right? You have to get some sort of value to get out on the map early on. This isn't your classic sit at home and boom type map. Very attentive to set up as well. Eagles being raided. Look to shift away. New Lancers coming out. So BC now up to 5. Once he gets to 10, this gets a little bit spooky considering Wham doesn't really have a great answer yet. You know, he still hasn't teched up. He's underway, and he did go for the House of Learning, and I think this is because he just doesn't really have the extra villagers to kind of flex towards a keep drop, and doesn't have the map control to go for a good one. Like, you could set up a castle at home, but it doesn't really do anything here. I think this is the type of game that if Wham had a mirrored tech-up timing, you'd probably see Compound the Defender, because you don't have to worry about 10+ Lancers eviscerating villages that try to build castles. But because of that count, like, he essentially gets stripped of the choice. This does mean if he now goes into Lancers himself, he wins because it's going to be Honed Blades down the line that gives him the edge. He has to get to that first. And I wonder if he's got a different priority here. Remember, they made a bunch of different changes, right? So the Reinforced Foundations, so now houses can garrison. You've got the Tranquil Venue, which gives +2 health every second out of combat near the mosques. Lookout Towers is an interesting one. Don't expect to see that in this game at all. Even just hearty rations, right? The extra capacity on the villages is pretty handy. You know what does actually help is choosing something. I find usually when playing the Delhi and going for House of Learning, it's good to learn instead of learn that you didn't learn, which I think is what Wham... Yep, there it is. You just realized. That's a lot of time missed out on, though, considering you're 5 minutes away from Honed Blades also. Problematic. Well, keep in mind also that alongside all this, BC has tried to start playing for the relics. In fact, it looks like it's going to be mostly a split, but with 1 still situated on Wham's side, it should be 3 relics to him, 2 to Beastie. think that Archer Ball is finally going to be cleaned up. So one less nuisance to worry about, although Beastie, he really wanted that Yam. Happens to all of us. Now it's going to be happening the other way. Lancers making their way in. Now, Textiles has been researched, so Wham won't die as quickly. But remember, his base is fully exposed. He never walled himself in at all. He walled a sacred site, but he didn't wall his peasants. Shows you what he thinks is more valuable. We'll try to push away, but there's so much exposed eco. Wham's very lucky because Beastie doesn't know about this. He doesn't have the con, he doesn't have the info. If he did, you know, he could idle so much economy at this stage. Remember, Wham is quite desperate for food. Doesn't have much left to access at this stage before he has to come out of the base. So at this pace, at this rate, I feel a lot better about Beastie's position. Wham does have a lot of Lancers, but the problem is he doesn't have the food to replace it if it's lost. Beastie, with still having access to the fish, being able to access on the deer, like he can last a little bit longer. We're talking like 10 extra nights before you start panicking about food. Possibly even more. Also, Beastie's built into the crossbows, so kind of getting all the answers, all the boxes ticked. Numbers just everywhere seem better. It's kind of weird when you look at the top and you see that Wham has 7 extra knights. But if you think about all these engagements, I don't feel like I've seen one where he's outnumbering so far. Feels like the way he splintered his troops up across the map has maybe left him a little bit more exposed in that regard. Beastie has now set up into initial gold veins. That'll keep him just churning. Has got the berry still. That's something that we can't really say of Wham. Remember, he exhausted them. I think if the Khan just goes scurrying across and looks for this, that could actually just cripple Wham to an irreparable degree. I think maybe he's going to start making that move soon. Like, that's the only thing that's missing here for Beastie, right? And some people would be like, well, why hasn't Beastie checked for that food? He must know that the guy needs food. New map, new feeling, right? Like, a lot of pro players essentially play off of kind of feel, right? Usually when you're playing like Dry Raid, you play it so many times, you know when someone's pocket economying. You must realize now, there's no way that Wham can still be safe at home. He has to be taking risks. That's exactly what he's going to be able to spot out in this area. Meanwhile, Wham trying to make a march west himself. Villagers exposed on the wood line, but remember, Wham is going in blind. Can he spot it? Looks like he's going to see it. March in onto the villager line. A shift away immediately by Beastie. He needs to get out. Needs to do it fast. Meanwhile, raids into the berry line is going to shut down the food supply for Wham, and Wham has no backup supply right now. He's out here fishing. Desperately, in fact, with 16 villagers. Meanwhile, the Lancers were able to murder a decent amount of villies here. They need to do more damage, and I think Wham knows it. He's hesitant to commit into the base. He doesn't know what's waiting for him, remember. That's the difference here. One is playing aggro with vision, the other is not. Something that usually happens, right? When you play Mongols, you always have this Khan to rely on. So many assaults everywhere as well. So after that, I mean, Wham has to be quite confident with the hit that he applied to Beastie, but remember that Wham isn't safe now. The info has been revealed. Like, he's going on the berries very vulnerably. He's on the fishing vulnerably. You could say similar things with Beastie, sure. I agree. But at the same time, Beastie has laid himself an outpost to give a safe point. And even if they do start getting torched down, there's not enough Lancers to kill it before reinforcements arrive. Flash. In an area where Wham should not be fighting, folks. I mean, you're up against the Shaman heals here. Weirdly enough, we have a game with the Delhi, and they're not the ones healing. Flash is everywhere just working out, and Wham, like, he's actually going to call GG. Maybe a little bit prematurely, but I think the writing's on the wall here, folks. We mentioned already, right? Like, you're running out of food. Also, another thing to keep in mind is not only that you're running out of food, you're also out of wood. So you can't even transition farms. Like, but I know, see, people write, they're like, early GG? I don't think so. I think you can see where this is going. Like, Wham, you could argue he's got a lot of Lancers. Why doesn't he commit? I think maybe one kind of detail to highlight is he probably should have just chased for more villies. But, you know, you're essentially like, you're fighting the symptoms instead of the cause. The problem he has here is no food at home safe, and he's been exposed being in dangerous places. And then he has no safe food he can set up because he has no wood. Like, remember that small pocket at the back? We didn't check back on it, but it was definitely gone. I mean, it was almost gone when we looked at it 5 minutes ago. So he had to play onto the map. And, you know, this is an area where I actually think this could be a good map for the Mongols, is the movement speed, right? The Yam was actually a really smart play. Like, the trade was an opportunity there, but BC didn't want to take it. By taking the Yam, he got access to the Deerstone and then also the outpost influencing his infantry, but also his villagers. What does that mean? It means that when BC comes out into dangerous territory to harvest wood, if a raid comes in, he can shuffle away a bit easier. He'll probably still lose some villagers, but it's much more difficult for Wham to take villagers out compared to BC on the other side. And I think that's what Wham started to identify, is that his opponent had already jumped into the wood and he was starved for it. And any move to make that happen was going to be more dangerous for him naturally than it was for Beastie. So just to TLDR, wrap it up in a little bow tie for you. You know, outposts earlier on in the game, plus the choice to go Deerstone, was actually pretty smart here by Beastie. And it's nice and refreshing to see that Deerstone still has some like sort of pocketed use, considering the meta is very heavily around Silvertree right now. And on a map like Canal, the temptation is definitely there with those corner spawn trade posts.